Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well today. We're going to talk some boxing. There's a lot that happened in boxing that I was not up to speed with, and I'm just actually checking out as we speak. And first, let's start off with a piece of scripture here that I have in front of me. It comes from John chapter 1, verse 1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And the Word, let me just keep on reading here. It says also, "The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him. Without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and life was the light of men, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it." First and foremost, the Word here is actually Jesus Christ that we're talking about. So Jesus Christ was from way up in the beginning. All right. And he is life. And so I just want to let you guys know right now that Jesus Christ is real. Like, this is not a fable. This is not a story. It's not a concept. This is not just something that this is actually happening as we speak right now. With you guys, I can tell you I'm sustained by Jesus. And you are sustained by Jesus. Everyone's sustained by Jesus. Anything that exists is sustained by Jesus. Jesus just means God saves. Okay. And now, if you can cognitively receive Jesus into your life or through your heart, in your mind, by simply believing that he came here, showed us the Father, and died, then what do I mean by show us the Father? Showed us who God is, and then died. And it was a man like us, and then rose again, died for us because we we got deceived, and then rose again so that we could live. That's it. That's how you get born again. It's crazy, but that's how what's born again is, being born of the Holy Spirit. All right, so let me get into a couple other things. The body of Christ is a spiritual body. That means I'm not physically attached to anybody. This person's not necessarily physically of my genealogy or anything like that. That's why we call each other in the body of Christ brothers and sisters. And brothers and sisters in the body, it's a spiritual body, like I said, where Christ is the one that started this body. Basically, it's called the body because of his body that died, was broken for us, and he actually gave his life for us. And because he gave his life for us, his life spread out for us. Get it? So we actually can live. He can live, reside in us through the Holy Spirit. And again, this is just a spiritual thing. This just means that he physically, or yes, spiritually, more like, it's invisible. It inhabits our minds. You know, our minds are under him now. And even though we can think and choose, still we don't have to sin anymore. Before that, we were going to sin. We had to sin because we just were tricked by the deceiver. But now we don't have to sin anymore. We don't have to consciously even have to, try and consciously fight our sin. We can just let our lives be given into his hands, and then everything else goes from there. And I've seen all kinds of things happen when I pray. So I know he's real, very real, even though he's invisible to us. That is, but you can tell his presence is there. Like I know his presence is here right now as I'm talking to you. I can feel it. I can see it, sort of. It's kind of weird to say you can see it because you don't. You can just sense it. It's really a sense. But yeah, he's here. Oh, he's here, all up in the place, everywhere. All right, so now that I said that, I acknowledge my God and my source. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about boxing, but always everything is in the context of a spiritual sense. And even though I was looking at boxing today and everything, everything pales in comparison to him and to what he did done and what kind of life I have now. And it's a supernatural life. I'll be honest with you. Some supernatural things started happening, and they continue to happen, and they will continue to happen. Not just in my life, but in a lot of other people from the body's life, because we're coming to a time where the body has to come together. And the reason why we have to come together is because things are about to change in the world drastically. So I'm happy to have this opportunity to even use the airways to talk about Jesus right now, because things are not going to be the same all the time. It's not going to stay like this. All right. Anyways, man, I just wanted to put this out in the airways. Let's talk a little bit about boxing. I know that's what you guys came here to see. But by the way, there's the chat section right there. You guys can comment in the chat section anytime you feel like it. I'm always welcoming people who want to be in the chat section. Okay. All right. We better change it up a little bit. So let's get to it. Talk a little bit about boxing. All right, guys. Now, you cannot be a Christian in lip service. Christianity is not or Little Christ is not about lip service. Okay, guys, trust me, man. It is much more than that. Let's get to it. Okay, so here you got some boxing rankings, and what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the boxing rankings to kind of talk about the updated stuff that has happened in boxing so far. So if you look at the heavyweight division, for example, I believe Deontay Wilder will be facing Tyson Fury come, what is it, the end of this year or the beginning of next year? I can't remember which one. And also Anthony Joshua, he will be facing supposedly. Oh, he actually faced Alexander Povetkin and put him to sleep, right? He put Alexander Povetkin to sleep. But what is interesting is there is the WBA regular champion who is Manuel Char. So Manuel Char is actually, he's a pretty decent boxer. He's finally worked himself up to heavyweight champion. He's actually become a heavyweight champion. All right. You got Anthony Joshua, who has the other belts, and then you have Deontay Wilder over here, who has the WBC belt, which is where the lineal champion is, which is Tyson Fury. So that's interesting. You got a whole other set of boxers here. Jared Baby Miller is working his way up in the WBA. Huey Fury is still doing his thing. We still got guys like Dillian White hanging in the wings. Brian Jennings is still around. These are some of the name guys I remembered. Derek Chisora still hanging around. Kubrat Pulev is still around. We have I'm looking for him. I'm not seeing him. I can't remember what his name is. Not seeing. Oh, Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker is still up in there, even though he was a world champion. I think he got beaten by, if I'm not mistaken, Anthony Joshua beat him, right? Anthony Joshua beat him, gave him his first loss. So you got all these guys up in here, okay? And that's really cool. The heavyweight division is starting to buzz. Luis Ortiz is still around, okay? Dominic Brazil, he not so good. I remember Washington. What is his name? Something Washington. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't see him up in the standings. If I'm not mistaken, Guillermo Jones was a cruiserweight, so he's probably moved up in there. Now, in the cruiserweight division, we actually have an undisputed cruiserweight champion, and that hasn't happened very often. Alexander Usyk, he's taken over everything. He is the undisputed cruiserweight champion, junior heavyweight champion, as they call him as well. That's very interesting. He actually has all the belts, so that hasn't happened in a while. And Bebert Chubanov has again retained the WBA regular, in this case, junior heavyweight or cruiserweight title. So that's interesting up in there. We had Krzysztof Glowacki. He beat I forgot the German guy. I forgot what his name is. He's still in the top ranking areas, and Maxim Vlasov. And you got Andrew Dabidi, who's moving up the ranks, so you can keep an eye on him. You got Krzysztof Lurdazik, okay? Remember him? He was world champion for a minute. Can't see. I don't see nobody else. Murat Gassiev, he was once a world champion. What else we got? Glowacki, he was able to, I believe, it's either him or Lurdazik, was able to pull off that big upset against Mark, whatever his name is. I don't see him here anymore. So there you go. So that's basically everybody in the cruiserweight division. Now, in the light heavyweight division, I forgot to talk about this. Badou Jack actually faced Adonis Stevenson. And from what I hear, I haven't seen the fight yet. They fought to a draw. So I thought that was very interesting. Badou Jack, you know, fought to a draw with Adonis Stevenson. And in fact, on one judge's scorecard, when I looked at the scorecards, Badou Jack actually won the fight, but he got a majority decision draw. So Badou Jack seems to be getting, you know, the short end of the stick. Nonetheless, his resume is pretty impressive, and I'll go back to that in a minute. We also got Marcos Brown in this division of the light heavyweight division. Artur Beterbiev has become IBF world champion. I saw it as inevitable that he would become that, and he has done it. Cairo Murat's up in there. We got Marcos Brown, like I said. Elito Alvarez, who beat, what's his name? He beat Sergey Kovalev, knocked him out, actually, stopped him. He is the WBO champion. And so we got, you know, light heavyweight division's got some interesting set of people in there. They got Elida Alvarez, who's a pretty decent boxer from, I believe it's Colombia. We got Joe Smith Jr., who's kind of hanging around. He got stopped by, I can't remember who stopped him. Sergey Kovalov's up in there still. Blake Caparello's still around. I don't know why he's still around. I guess he's just boxing for I don't know what, but he's ranked actually. Marcos Brown, he's still an up-and-coming guy. Cairo Murat's still up in there. He's a veteran. Jean Pascal is still there. He's a veteran as well. Sullivan Barrera is up in there. That's a young, still skilled boxer. So I like to see what transpires with him. And Chilimba's still up in there. I don't know what he's doing in there. Sobransky's still there. So this is it's still an interesting division. You know, I still keep my eye on it, even though Andre Ward's not up in there anymore. Stevenson was able to hold on to his belt. Quite frankly, though, I wouldn't be surprised. Badou Jack got the poor end of the stick. You guys probably can talk to me more about that, on what happened. Badou Jack is a very good boxer. We're learning that really quickly now. At the super middleweight level, this is an interesting division because I started actually looking at these different divisions because I was looking at Canelo's next opponent, which is Rocky Fielding. Rocky Fielding is the regular WBA champion. Callum Smith, of course, is the champion. In the Super 6 that was going on, Callum Smith actually beat George Groves. And, you know, Callum Smith's the brother of one of the Smiths that faced Canelo. I can't remember what his name is. You guys might know who I'm talking about. But when I look at the super middleweight division, I think it's actually gotten restructured, which is pretty interesting. So what we have in the super middleweight division, which really makes it intriguing, James DeGale, he lost his IBF title not because he fought, but it's because he didn't fight a certain opponent. He fought somebody easy, and so he was stripped of his IBF title where he was supposed to, I think, face against a mandatory challenger. So James DeGale is no longer a world champion, even though he is a world champion. You know, he's just been stripped. That's what happened with him. But this division is very interesting. And James DeGale actually lost to Caleb Truax, I found out, and then he avenged his loss. But here's what's going on in this division. This division is packed with talent as well, and some young talent as well. We got Anthony Durrell, who's the #1 contender. I guess he'll go up against David Benavidez. I don't know, WBC. David Benavidez, who's Jose Benavidez's brother, the Benavidez brothers, who were trained by Timothy Bradley's former coach, which is, I forgot what his name is. Anyway, those guys, David Benavidez has become world champion, WBC world champion. So that's interesting. Jesse Hart's up in that division, of course. Chris Eubank Jr. is there. We got George Groves, who just lost his title to Callum Smith. Callum Smith catching him with that left hook as George was trying to hook Callum Smith as well. And Callum Smith's a very rangy fighter, very tall. So that's a very interesting fight that happened there. A very tall guy, actually. And then you have Caleb Truax, who, you know, pulled off an upset against James DeGale, and James DeGale came back and beat him. You got Najib Mohammadi, who was at, I believe, light heavyweight. I think he moved back down. And then we have here, besides Rocky Fielding. Rocky Fielding is a hardworking kind of boxer. I think he's had one loss. I think he was knocked out by, I can't remember who. But Rocky Fielding is a very good fighter. I like how he mixes his attack. He can fight. You know, he can fight to the body or to the head, and he has a pretty decent high guard defense, standard European high guard defense nonetheless, but still he has and he has some variation to him, and he's got little feints and things. He can box on the outside, you know. He's not really that great at fighting on the inside, which could be his downfall against Canelo Alvarez. But if he can keep Canelo somehow on the end of his stick, he does use his jab pretty well. What I would say, guys like Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, George Groves, they remind me of the type of fighter like at middleweight. What was that guy's name? It just came to me and disappeared. He beat Bernard Hopkins. I can't remember his name for the life of me right now. He just kind of went crazy. He won back the middleweight title once against I can't remember what the other guy's name is either. An oldish guy who had been world champion for a while. I can't remember the guy's name, but you guys probably know who I'm talking about. This black guy. He had a little beard, bald-headed. He became bald-headed. He wasn't always bald-headed. But anyway, he beat Bernard Hopkins. So all you got to do is look at Bernard Hopkins' resume and see who beat him. And that guy beat him. He was, I think, second guy to beat him as world champion. So I think the first guy that beat Bernard Hopkins was. He's not really that tall and rangy, but he's kind of tall and rangy, and the style is similar. So Callum Smith, George Groves, Rocky Fielding, they remind me of that guy. Kind of rigid style, but very sharp fighters. In fact, I think Callum Smith is the sharpest in all of them. Then you got George Groves, and you got Rocky Fielding. So that kind of style, it's kind of limited style. But anyway, inside of that division, though, we also have Chris Eubank up in there, WBA. Chris Eubank. We got also, who else we got? That's very interesting. I told you Jesse Hart. Peter Quillen's up in there in super middleweight now, so that's really good. Caleb Truax is there, like we said. Andrew Durrell, Arthur Abraham's still there. I don't know what he's doing there. He's like a what is he? He's like a fossil. You know what I mean? But this division is also very exciting, I find, in boxing because you got all these other guys. And then, of course, we have Gilberto Ramirez, who's been WBO world champion now for a number of times, defended his title quite well, southpaw. And that would be an interesting choice if Canelo wanted to Canelo could face any one of these guys. He could face Callum Smith, David Benavidez, Rocky Fielding, Gilberto Ramirez. Any one of these guys would be fine. But I'm pretty sure that Rocky Fielding is working with the Zone, and therefore he's working with promoter Eddie Hearn. So I think that's why Rocky Fielding is facing Canelo first. But really, I would love to have seen Canelo against Gilberto Ramirez, particularly because Gilberto is probably the most experienced world champion in all the world champions. The other guys are pretty recent. Callum Smith's, become world champion very recently. David Benavidez has been there for a quick minute, not even for a quick minute, just for like he just appeared on the scene. Jose Ustaqui has been there. Maybe he's been there, maybe he isn't. I don't remember him being there. So they're all recent world champions. I think the most seasoned of them is Gilberto Ramirez, who's been world champion, I think, last year. He became world champion or the year before. So that would be probably the best one for Canelo to face because he's got the most seasoning. But I could see why Canelo would go up to super middleweight and try and grab a title there, as well as defend down in middleweight at the same time. The idea is if you're fighting guys at super middleweight, and you come down and fight guys at middleweight, they don't have the kind of punching power that the super middleweights would have. You know what I mean? So it's like, you get tolerance to punching power and all of that. And all you got to deal with now is boxing these guys. So, I've always thought Canelo made a very smart move by facing first Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. at super middleweight, because now you get your punch resistance and everything. You get to tangle with this big guy. Can I move this big guy around? And that's why it was easy for him to walk down Triple G, and especially where he finally grew into middleweight. He's a full-fledged middleweight, and you can see he's also kind of like a super middleweight. Actually, he's built like a super middleweight, so he's actually like a super middleweight fighting at middleweight. And so got big super middleweights like Danny Jacobs and even Jamal Charlo. Canelo's not going to have a problem with those guys and their punching power because he's training and fighting guys much bigger than that. So that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. Canelo, he was smart enough to go up in weight first before he faced Gennady Golovkin, whereas he first entered the middleweight division, and he wasn't really a middleweight. He forced Cotto. Cotto's not a middleweight, and Cotto exceeded himself, went up in middleweight, and actually won a title, which is amazing. Cotto's not a middleweight. Cotto's a super welterweight. That's what he is. And Canelo was a super welterweight. He was a big super welterweight, but he was a super welterweight. And he went and faced Miguel Cotto in what was a super welterweight fight. As you guys can see, it was a catch weight at 155 pounds. So basically a super welterweight fight. So his first real middleweight fight, which was against Gennady Golovkin, it made sense that he first faced a bigger opponent in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who was not a super middleweight, but he's actually a light heavyweight. So it's basically Canelo was fighting a light heavyweight who was slightly drained. I have to admit, to make weight, he was drained. But it's a bigger mass. It's a bigger dude. And Canelo was pushing that guy back. So if he could push back Julio Cesar Chavez and not even let Julio Cesar Chavez box his game, he took away Julio Cesar Chavez's game completely in how he cut angles and how he basically addressed him and how he made Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. miss him and stuff and pushed Julio Cesar Chavez. When you push the bully back, he can't do nothing to you. And that's what Canelo knows. And then he did the same thing to Triple G, just pushed him back. And Triple G was trying to use his jab, but his jab won't work on Canelo because Canelo, You know, like I said, he has the art of slipping the jab, bobbing the jab, using feints, all of that stuff, all that special effect stuff. Coming in at different angles, jabbing off of different angles, using different kinds of jabs and all of that. So that fundamental stuff that Triple G, it worked with other opponents. It did not work with Canelo. It worked a little bit with Danny Jacobs, but even Danny Jacobs was able to handle Triple G's jab. If you really paid attention, yeah, Triple G hit him a couple times, but again, Danny Jacobs was walking to him, landing his shots, getting his shots off. And that's because these other guys like Danny Jacobs, Canelo, Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, Erislandy Lara, all of these other guys, they have special effects to them. They do other things besides just, and so a simple jab will not hold them off, right? Okay, so Triple G is mostly a European fighter, so as much as he talks about Mexican style, he's more of a European style fighter with the high guard and stuff. So Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, if Jose Uzcategui is a European fighter, which he probably does not because he has a Spanish name. But if he's a European fighter, the European fighters have a certain way of fighting, and that's just what it is. It's textbook, it's nice, it's crisp, but it's limited. So, I don't see Canelo really having much of a problem with Rocky Fielding, as much as Rocky Fielding has some nice placements. He's pretty crisp to some degree. He's long, he's rangy, but see, all these guys depend on the jab. And if you're just depending on the jab, I just don't see you winning that fight. I just don't see. Canelo can do more things than just land a jab. And it shows in almost all Canelo's fights of recent times. Canelo has not been using the jab much. There's a lot of power punches. And that should tell you. And if you look at Floyd Mayweather's track history as well, Floyd Mayweather doesn't always use the jab either. Because the jab, people teach you that you have to use the jab and it's a fundamental thing off of which you do everything and blah, 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 blah. It's not true. It's a myth. There's many other things you can do besides jab, which are just as effective as if you were to use jabs. And nobody teaches that. I don't know why. You look at a guy like Roy Jones Jr. He would just abandon the jab completely and use hooks. And he would use hooks and he would use straight rights and sometimes the straight right is actually the jab. And he used a number of feints to keep distance, and he was unpredictable as an ambush fighter and all of that. So it's not just about jabbing. You look at Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao doesn't have the greatest jab in the world, and yet Manny Pacquiao is very effective. So it's not just about jabbing in boxing. And that's something a lot of people don't understand. It's about so many things besides just jabbing. Yes, the jab is good. It can do multiple things. But if you don't know when to use a jab or what kind of jab to use or how to mix your jab with feints or how to pivot while you're using a jab, then a jab becomes useless. It's not just about using a jab. You understand? And you must know why you're using your jab and what kind of jab you have to use for the situation. And it's all these things that we don't talk much about in boxing. They tell you use the jab, but okay, Oscar De La Hoya, for example, when he's facing Floyd Mayweather, I say, why aren't you using the jab? Well, Floyd took away his jab, and that's because even though Oscar has a nice, really good, sound power jab, and he times it pretty well, if that's all I have as a jab, you see, there are many other jabs. So if all you got is a nice, crisp, sound power jab, but you can't adapt your jab. Say a guy starts to punish you underneath your jabbing arm, right? He's hitting you in the spleen area. He's hitting you in the rib cage. He's hitting you on the shoulder. You must be able to vary that jab. You must be able to hook off your jab. Oscar De La Hoya is a great hooker. Why wasn't he hooking off his jab? Because he was getting punished under his arm. Okay, now I got to change up my game, change up my stance a little bit, maybe tilt my stance a little bit, widen my stance a little bit, still keep the high guard, feint as if I'm going to go throw a right so that he would try and block that and then come with the jab. All Oscar needed to do against Floyd to make Floyd think a little bit more was he needed to mask his jab a little bit more, which means you feint the jab as if you're going to throw it. Then Floyd will come to try and counter that jab. He may even feint as if he's going to counter. And then you can lead off with a hook or with a jab. You can lead off with a jab after you've feinted him. So you catch it and then you jab back at him with a spare jab or something. But see, Oscar couldn't see all of that. And Floyd was ahead of him. Floyd had Oscar thinking about him instead of the other way around, where Oscar made Floyd think about him. And all of these things you have to think about in boxing. It's a thinking man's game, but yet it's not a thinking man's game. You have to train for that stuff. so that it comes naturally to you. And that's it. Floyd don't think too much about all of the stuff he's doing. He's not thinking, it's come naturally to him. He done trained for that. So he's, whatever you bring, he's going to adapt and he's going to do it. He's not thinking about what he's doing. He's not thinking like that. He's just sitting, but he's setting you up. He's watching you. He's watching your geometry, setting you up for stuff. And so that's something that it doesn't come naturally unless you practice. So this leads me back to Christianity for a minute. As a Christian, there's a scripture here that I want to show you guys that comes from Peter. Was it Peter? No, I don't think so. Let me see. Was it Peter? Yes. But it also comes from another piece of scripture that I want to find. I think it's James. Let me go to James. James. Oh, it's James. I think I saw it. Listen to this. It says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that gives to all men liberally and upbraideth not. That's not what I want to read. It says this, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith works patience. And let patience have a perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Okay, so another place, Peter, it says this. And there's two things I'm trying to say here. According to his divine power, which is given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness, through the knowledge of him that has called us to glory and virtue, whereby he's given unto us exceedingly great and precious promises, that these things you might be partakers of the divine nature. That's what the divine nature is, what the body is made of. That's why we say spiritual body. Having escaped the corruption of this world through lust, with all of this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity. All right, so what I'm trying to say is, just like how a boxer perfects his style, it perfects himself by training and adding different elements to his game as he trains and he perfects it. Similarly, as a Christian, we have to perfect these virtues by taking these virtues in and being tested. And that's why the fiery trials come. The fiery trials come so we can exercise these virtues. And the more you do something, the more habitual something becomes, the more natural it becomes to you. And God knows this. That's why we go through all of these trials and tribulations, all these tests in our lives, so that we would actually exercise these virtues. And listen to how Peter says it, so you guys can get it. So once again, it's beautiful. It's beautiful when you think about it. I think it's 2 Peter. Listen what it says again. According to his divine power, which is given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness, through the knowledge of him that has called us to glory and virtue. So we're supposed to be called to glorify him and to show the virtues of him, and the virtues of him become supernatural things. For example, if I love somebody so much, I'll go to supernatural lengths, but besides that, supernatural things happen to that person because of my love for them. Jesus loved the people. He had compassion on them, and because of that, virtue flowed out of him and healed them and cast out demons and he taught them with power. Okay, so this divine power, you know, today I was reading a lesson with my mom, and they were talking about the powerful presence of God and the power. They felt this presence besides themselves, this person or something, some entity besides themselves that was controlling everything. But the thing about it, that's virtue. Okay, that's the virtue of God. That's the power of God. But the thing about it is, and the glory of God. But the thing about it is, listen to how you actually develop this. You develop this through being partakers of the divine nature. By this, giving all diligence, add to your faith. So because you had the faith to believe that Jesus is God, or that God is there. Okay, his presence is there, because you started becoming aware of his presence by faith. And by the way, faith is the substance of things hoped for. So you had a hope. It made you hopeful and started making you think about positive possibilities. The evidence of things not seen. So faith is not based on visible evidence. but it doesn't mean there's not evidence there. For example, I know God is present here, but there is no visible evidence that he's here. Like if I start talking to God, you guys will think I'm crazy, right? I start talking to him right here and now, like having a conversation with him. You say, who are you having a conversation with? And I say, I'm having a conversation with God. And some of y'all will think I'm crazy, I'm a crackhead, but literally God's presence, God is right here. His person is here. Like I know he's here. I can feel him. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. Now, so this is what it's saying. Thank you, God, by the way, for giving me the opportunity to do this, Jesus. And see, I'm actually directly talking to him right now. And that's just to let you guys know you can directly talk to him. Praying is just directly talking to God and asking him for something. I'm not asking him for nothing. I'm just talking about him right now. And I know he's listening to this conversation and he's actually present here. And so I address him in the conversation because, you know, he's here. So I'm just letting you guys know he's right here right now. And he's over by you as well. And he's in you and all of that. And you can literally just talk to him. You can think about it too. You can think to him if you want. It doesn't really matter. He knows what you're going to think anyway. So God is saying, this is what you're saying, right, Lord? You're saying that by adding these things, so the faith, because you have faith, now it can manifest into something real, and stuff starts to happen that's supernatural around you. What we mean by supernatural is it's natural, but it's just things that super, like people never really think that that's possible, and the impossible things start happening around you, right? Like for instance, we prayed that the rain would stop, and now the sun has come out and the clouds and everything has changed up, and the weatherman is saying that it's not going to be rain for a couple of days, but we prayed for that. You see what I'm saying? And it's easy to rationalize and say, oh, well, the weather had to change at some point. No, not. You know? All right. So, and I know about people who, you know, there were typhoons coming at their country, especially in the Philippines. They prayed, the typhoon was right up on them and it just turned and changed course. Okay. That's not normal, folks. Okay. All right. Let's keep on going here. So unto faith comes virtue. Virtue is very important. Virtue is where you get the signs and wonders and all that stuff. Virtue came out of Jesus, healed people, right? Virtue came out of Jesus, cast out demons. Virtue came out of Jesus and stuff started happening. Okay. So, so when you add onto your faith virtue, now you're not adding onto your faith virtue. You ain't adding nothing. God adds everything. But what he means to say is you're consciously making a decision to go to strengthen your faith with God. It's a choice you've made. And also you're also consciously now wanting that manifestation of that faith that you have in God. Everything though that comes, the faith, the manifestation of the faith, the virtue that you get, all comes from God. And it's God motivating you to take it to the next level. He's been motivating you all along. He's been whispering in your ears. Come on, man. Let's take this to the next level. That's how it goes, right? Anyways, I hope I'm saying this right, Lord. Anyway, so onto virtue now you get knowledge. Now, knowledge is different. It's not just knowledge, but it's now why this happens. Why is this happening to you? And not only why is it happening to you, but why does it happen to the body? Knowledge helps us to become more aware of what's actually going on. It's not to make more go on. It's just make us more aware of what's going on. The why. You know, a lot of people like to know why something happens. Well, knowledge gives you the why, and it gives you this deeper significance, deeper meaning for your consciousness, for your cognition, for you to say, whoa, man, God really is awesome, right? And to give him more glory. So when you know why something's happening, you know it works, but now you want to know why it works. You know, people in the world like to know that. That's what that knowledge is about. And the knowledge is not just why of now, like it's why of all time. It's why beyond time. So this why is a little bit bigger than the other whys we know. I'll give you an example of what I mean. So, for example, we know faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's what faith is. All right? I just explained that to you. But that knowledge is important. Now, you could have that faith, but you didn't know that that's what faith was. And you may go for a long time prattling that off. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. But you have no idea what you just said. Okay? And so the knowledge helps us to understand why. And that was so since back in the Bible, when people were going through the Decalogue and the laws, and the priests were there to explain the law to the people so they could receive it fully. It's one thing to receive something by route, memory. It's another thing to receive it by understanding. So God talks about wisdom and understanding, knowledge and understanding. Knowledge helps us to get understanding, okay? And to knowledge, temperance. Now, it's one thing to just be wanting knowledge all the time. You want to eat all the time. That's cool. That's not breaking the bread, eating, that kind of thing. But it comes a point where you have to look at what is expedient, what is necessary for what you have to do today. That's why in the prayer to God, in the prayer to you, Lord, I'm saying it in your presence, we say, give us this day our daily bread. We don't need bread for next week or next month or next year, because manna came every day except for one day of the week, which was what? The sixth day, which you had to stay. It spilled over to the seventh, right? So it's my daily bread. I don't need bread for next year, or next month, or next week. I need for today, right? I need you, Jesus, for today. I don't need you, Jesus, for next week, next month, next year, because I'm living right now. I'm living today, right? If I'm living in today, I need you for today, right? And so when we talk about our daily bread, we're talking about Jesus, really. And basically, we all need to be connected to him today, okay? And the body and everything that has to do with the body and all. When we say Jesus, we involve all the people of the body of Christ. We're talking about all of heaven. We're talking about all the spiritual resources that God has. And a lot of people don't understand when we say God is rich in everything. He is rich in above and below. What do I mean by that? He's rich in the virtues because he's the fullness of the Holy Spirit was in him. He's walking Shekinah. And the other thing is he's also full of everything on earth. He literally sustains everything. Everything is his. So he can pull resources from anywhere, from people, from things, from places, from inanimate objects. He can make the walls cry out and praise him. Okay. It doesn't, we call them inanimate objects, but it's because they exist. Anything that exists, whether it's the stars in the heaven or something far down in the galaxy or the universe, he owns it, okay? So that's why he's very rich. That's why he said, heaven is my throne, earth is my footstool. There's nothing you can give me, okay? That ain't mine already. Not even yourself, okay? I own you. But I give you power of choice so you can control your life however you suit, because I'm just that dope. You know what I mean? Oh, anyway. Yeah, God's dope. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, he's dope. I mean, there's nobody else that's that dope. I mean, the leader that just lets his creations do whatever they want, and then but when they find out how good he is, they will really choose him. That's a dope leader, man. He's dope, I'm telling you. Anyways, man, yeah, praise to you, God. So anyway, I was going back to what I was saying about the super middleweight division. Let me wrap that up. So what I'm basically saying to you guys is that when you look at the people who stay at the top of their game, the people who really do well, these people who separate themselves from other people is because they practice. They repeat. So when you see a boxer that's looking like he's doing something and he's very sharp with it, it's just like a Christian who's on their game. They're very sharp at things, not because in and of themselves, but they continuously, relentlessly ask and persist with God about this particular thing that they're now trying to get to, which is a virtue or something. Because we want to more and more be like God, and God is dope. God separated himself from everybody from the get-go because he made everything, right? But so God, when we see how God's nature is and how dope he is as human beings, we realize, oh man, just looking at Jesus as a human being is exceptional, etc. And then in spite of all that, he just really loved people. That's dope. And you will want to be like that. It's not easy because you got to go through these fiery trials and stuff. But it's really awesome because you get to perfect that thing and through repetition and so on, dealing with repetitive circumstances, attacks from the enemy, etc., right? So when you have that kind of repetition and stuff, you separate yourself from the others. And that's why these guys are world champion. They didn't just happen by chance. They didn't just become a world champion. They just drop off the truck. No, the opportunity came. They had practiced. They had trained. They used their natural skills and ability. Some of them had God gifting. And they were able to use whatever they have and what they've perfected to separate themselves from the rest of the field. And now they want to maintain that separation. They're going to have to continue on that line. Okay, so that's what makes this so exciting. So every division seems to be a little bit exciting to me because I know some familiar characters. So when you look at the middleweight division, Canelo is the guy that's running the show now. He's the WBC, WBA champion. Basically, the two oldest belts ever of all time is the WBC and the WBA. Okay, they've been around like forever. WBC more than WBA. So Canelo he's gotten back the WBC belt that they stripped him of when he won against Miguel Cotto, and Canelo was the linear middleweight champion, and now he is the man at middleweight. And it would be nice if he can get all the titles, but it doesn't really matter if he does or doesn't. But it's one of those awesome things. So he is the middleweight champion, but like I said before, he may move up to super middleweight as well and get a title there as well. So he may be like Floyd Mayweather. He may hold 2 belts in 2 different divisions. Like, he's following in the footsteps of Floyd quite a lot, I would say. And like I said to you guys before, Canelo is a bigger, stronger Floyd, and he basically beat Gennady Golovkin by standing right in front of him. The same thing Floyd did to him, he did to Gennady Golovkin. And you guys are giving, some people are still such Golovkin fans that they can't see the separation between what Canelo did to him in the second fight. He walked Golovkin down. They're talking about boxing. Golovkin ain't got but a handful of jabs and his timing. Okay, he got decent timing and he got a handful of jabs. And Canelo was parrying and catching them jabs. And he was just doing what Canelo does, man. Easy work. So Canelo is rightfully so the WBC, WBA champion. Jamal Charlo, they're saying, is the WBC regular champion. If I'm not mistaken, he beat Hugo Centeno. They must have upgraded him to that after he beat Hugo Centeno, because the guy he beat before that was, I forgot what his name is. It's not in the top rankings anymore. But yeah, he beat that guy, and that's how. Anyway, so Jamal Charlo is the WBC, I guess, interim champion, and Canelo Alvarez is the official bona fide, true WBC world champion, which he was supposed to be anyway. Gennady Golovkin sort of stole that belt off of him. Didn't even want to face him to get the belt. They put Gennady Golovkin up there on the podium, #1 pound-for-pound fighter. Okay, Canelo comes and beats him. So Canelo should be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter right now. But nope, they say it's Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford doesn't have a resume like Canelo, but you know how it go. You know how it go, folks. Let me just check what you guys are saying in the comment section before I move on. Because I've been talking quite a lot, right? Okay, there ain't nobody actually no one's actually checking out my stuff right now. That's cool. That's cool. It's all good. So let me just keep it moving. Let me keep it moving anyway. Hold on a second. Okay, cool. Remember, you guys can comment in the comment section. I'm surprised nobody's really commenting in the comment section. You guys can comment in the comment section, man. I'll be interested in seeing what you guys got to say. Let me go back to the rankings, because we still got a couple other divisions to go through, which is really cool. And I like going through cool stuff. So, middleweight division, we got all these fun people in there. Liam Smith has moved up to the middleweight. Isn't that interesting? That is Callum Smith's brother. Martin Murray's still there. We have David Lemieux. We have Gary O'Sullivan, who just got beaten by David Lemieux, I think it was. We have Walter Condokwo, or something like that. He's the guy that got beaten by Demetrius Andrade. Billy Joe Saunders was the WBO champion, and Walter, he was able to fight with Demetrius to get the spot. I think Billy Joe Saunders was disqualified for failing a VADA test or something like that. And Willie Monroe is still there. He'll be facing Jamal Charlo, a shot at the title. Sergey Derevchenko is going to be facing Daniel Jacobs. I don't know much about Sergey Derevchenko. I've heard about him, but I don't really know much about him. Okay. And then we have in this division, who else we got? Scott Quigley's brother was Jason Quigley. Rob Brandt, who pulled off the upset against Ryota Murata, who is the WBA regular champion. So he's now, Rob Brandt is now the WBA regular champion. Good for him. And, of course, we have Gennady Golovkin up in there still. And who else we got? Luis Arias Luis Cuba Arias is still up in there. Hugo Centeno. These are some younger guys. So this is what we got in this division. It's not as hot as the other divisions, but still, it's a pretty good pretty good cooking up in there. Super welterweight. We got Jamel Charlo, Julian Williams, Arislandi Lara, Kell Brooks up in that division now. Yep, that's right. We also got Austin Trout. We've got Jarrett Hurd, who is now the IBF, WBO, WBA champion. I don't know who this guy is. Brian Carlos Castano. I don't know who that is. Michel Soro. He should get a shot at the title. That would be really nice for him. And who else we got here? Who else we have here that's worth talking about? Liam Williams, who recently lost. Yoshihiro Kamagai, who's moved up to that division. Amir Khan is in there. I didn't know that. Tony Harrison will be facing Jamel Charlo, who's been knocked out twice. And that's about it. So that's what that division looks like. Not a bad division at all. Welterweight division is really stacked. We got some really awesome people up in here. We got Sean Porter up in this division. He's now the WBC world champion. We got Danny Garcia, Jesse Vargas, Andre Berto. Amir Khan's also in this division. So we'll see what happens. Jeff Horn is up in there. We also got Manny Pacquiao, Keith Thurman, the WBA regular champion, Jose Benavidez, who just got stopped by Terrence Crawford. And we got Adrian Broner's up in there, Josecito Lopez. You know, we got some names up in here, man. We got Errol Spence Jr., who's the IBF world champion. Will have to defend his title very soon. We also have Devin Alexander, who's still at the bottom of the table, but he's still around. We have Terrence Crawford in the WBO. You know, we got a load of there's some other names I'm not seeing that's in this division, which are very exciting. So it's a very exciting division. It's packed with a lot of interesting names, some names you've heard from a while ago, and some other new names. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know if Kell Brooks is going to still hang around at welterweight. I think he will, to face Amir Khan at least. Now in the super lightweight division, it's not as packed, and there's not a whole lot of people I know in this division. The names that I know in the division are Adrian Broner, Jose Ramirez, Victor Postol, Jorge Linares has moved up to super lightweight. We also have Lipnitz, who's in there. He's an exciting name. He's moving up the ranks. DeMarco still hanging around. Fabian Maidana, who is Marcos Maidana's brother. He's in that division. Edward Troyanovsky, who got beaten. He's in that division, the Russian guy. You also have I think Lipnitz is the guy that beat him, actually, which is interesting. You also have in this division, I'm surprised I'm not seeing him there. That's okay. It's cool. All right, the WBO champion, I didn't even know he was that. It was Maurice Hooker. And the WBA champion right now is Kirill Relic, which is, I don't know who that is. I don't even know who Regis Prograis is. So we got a lot of new faces in this division. Yeah. In the lightweight division, we got Mikey Garcia, who's the WBC champion. Somebody beat Luke Campbell. I can't remember who it was. Javier Fortuna's up in that division. Anthony Corolla's in that division, who was a world champion. Devin Haney is in that division. So Devin Haney's moving up, and he's in lightweight now. Ray Beltran's there. Vasil Lomachenko is there. He would like Jorge Linares would love a rematch with him. Francis Bartholomew's there. Robert Easter Jr. These are all good names. Tio Firmer Lopez, he's still hanging around. Mikey Garcia is IBF and WBC world champion. So that's Mikey Garcia. People say Vasily Lomachenko is the man of this division. I don't think so. I think Garcia is. I would love to see Garcia face Lomachenko. And then we have Jose Pedraza. Jose Pedraza moved up to lightweight, and he's actually won a title. I think that's the same guy that Javante Davis beat. I think so. Jose Pedraza. So he's up there as a world champion as well. And then we have here the super featherweight division. Miguel Berchelt is the WBC world champion. We have Miguel Roman. Miguel Roman's still around, so that's interesting. We have Shafikov, who's there. Gervonta Davis is WBA world champion, and you got the regular world champion, who's Alberto Machado. Brian Vasquez is still around. He's been around for a while. Abner Maris is there. Francisco Vargas. Jesus Andres Cuella. He's still around. Tevin Farmer now is the IBF super featherweight world champion. So he wants to get a fight with Gervonta Davis. That would be interesting. Lee Selby's still up in there. He was a former world champion. And we have the WBO champion, who's a Japanese, Masakui Ito. I don't know much about that guy. All right, so this is what it looks like. Orlando Salido's up in here, too. I didn't even know that. He's an ancient guy. In the featherweight division, we still got Gary Russell Jr. We got Leo Santa Cruz. Oscar Valdez, he became world champion. You got Carl Frampton as well up in there. So that's pretty interesting. Some of the other names, I don't really know them. Kid Gallahan's starting to move back up the charts after his drug problems that he had. Abner Maris is somehow in there. Tomoki Kameda, he's still up in there. And that's about it, I think. Yeah, that's about it for that division. And super bantamweight, I'm not going to go much further, but super bantamweight, I don't know nobody in super bantamweight. There's Diego De La Hoya, Jesse Magdaleno. So I think that's all. That's everybody I know. I don't think I know anybody else. Tomoki Kameda. That's about it. All right, as you go lower in the weight classes, you know, some of these names I already know, like Zolani Tet. I know him. I don't know this guy. Naoa Inu, I know him. He's moved up in weight as well. But most of these guys I don't know. They're new names to me, you know. So it's not. I'm not as familiar with these divisions as the high weight classes. The super flyweight division, Sri Sasket Sor Runvisai. He's the guy that beat. He beat the little guy Roman. What was it? Roman Gonzalez, Chocolito. He was the guy that beat him, and he's been running things since then. Juan Francisco Estrada may face him. That would be interesting. There's Roman Gonzalez right there. Kazuto Ioka was once a world champion, I believe. Pedro Guevara was once a world champion. Donny Nietes, he's still up in there, so that's kind of cool. So I kind of remember some of the guys in this division. Khalid Yafai, I don't know who that is. You guys might be able to fill me in on that. I don't know this guy, Joe Asehas. I don't know who that is. And then we have a vacant WBO title here. So, yeah. And then we got the flyweight division and the junior flyweight division, the two smallest divisions. In the flyweight division, I know nobody here except for Brian Viloria, Luis Concepcion. About it, really, and they're not world champions. So it's a turning up the guard, and there's new people there. I don't know most of them. All right. In the junior flyweight, we got Ken Shiro. I don't know who that is. I know Hecky Buckler. He's again world champion. That's cool. Carlos kind of. But you know, this division, the junior flyweight division, as you get smaller, there are very few smaller people. So that's why these divisions are not that popular, because it's not a lot of small people. You know, CP Freshmark's been there like forever in these divisions. So, and Ryoichi Taguchi's been there forever. So there's only a certain amount of small guys you have. You know what I mean? I don't know too much about the other people here. Angel Acosta has become world champion again. Pedro Guevara is still there. And then, of course, in the minimum weight division, Wenhang Menyofen. I think Menyofen lost, but he's back to becoming a world champion again. So there he is in his winning ways. And then you got Thamamun Neom Strong, which I don't even know what that means. I don't know anybody in this division. They're little tiny little guys. It's nice to see them going at it. But they're really, really small. And again, there's not a whole bunch of small people. These small people are probably from certain places in the world where people tend to be small. So That's basically it. But there's some excitement in all of these different divisions, and it's nice following each and every one of these guys that are here. So, you know, this is what I wanted to share with you guys concerning boxing. It's pity that I don't think you guys are going to see this live, but if you are watching this live right now, give me a shout out, man. Give me a shout out so that I can talk with you guys, because I like talking with you guys a little bit. Yeah. All right. So this is what you need here. I'm pretty much signing out. If you're here in the chat section, why not throw out, you know, say, hey, shout out, hey, or something. You know what I mean? I know it's week or work day, and it's a weekday, so some of you are not going to be able to do so, but it'd be nice if you could. All right. Anywho, that's basically what I got to say. As to boxing and some of the tricky things in boxing, I'll talk more about that. I mean, there's a lot of things that you do in boxing, even the average boxer does, and they probably unknowingly or knowingly know they do it. But I was watching at some film of Canelo. I was watching at some film of Floyd. I was looking at some film of those two guys particularly, and there's things that they do in that ring I think a lot of people take for granted, and they don't understand that these things are they're kind of basic with how and when and why you do them. That these guys inherently know what to do is what makes the difference between these guys. You know, even when Floyd was fighting Conor McGregor, he was doing certain things which, again, were more instinctive than anything else, but he had practiced them so much that it became a part of his life and resume and how he handles situations. So, yes, folks, I'll try and highlight some of those things for you guys to understand why these guys are so good. Like I said before, I told you guys over and over. I told you Canelo would beat Golovkin whenever he faced him, and true to form, he did. Because I told you Canelo, he's able to slip the jab, he's able to split the jab, he's able to do a lot of things off of your jab. And so the jab is just not going to work against Canelo. But most people didn't understand what I was saying at the time. Well, you guys have a peaceful day. Deuces to you. Have a good one.